As the front door clicked shut, my world fragmented into countless shards. I found myself in my sister's living room. As the taxi rolled away from the curb, Brooke and Jared disappeared, embarking on their Caribbean cruise adventure. 5 days of bright rays and refreshing cocktails as I cared for their little girl. I pivoted with a grin, eager to inquire of Nola what she desired to accomplish first. Perhaps we could whip up some cookies, enjoy a film, and dive into a book together as we used to. However, Nola was not extending her hand towards the iPad. She wasn't composing a message for the text-to-speech application to vocalize. She stood there, unmoving. There she was, gazing at me with a depth of intensity I had never witnessed in her 8 years of existence. And then my niece, the little one I was thought to have been born without the ability to speak, the quiet little girl who had remained silent since her early years, finally parted her lips. "Dear Auntie, refrain from consuming the tea that Mom prepared. She devised a sinister plan." Her voice resonated with clarity, flawless, as if she had been speaking her entire existence. My blood froze, chilling my very core. Allow me to rewind approximately 6 hours, as it's essential for you to grasp the context. The journey that led me to this point. How I found myself in my sister's home, uncovering that all I believed I understood about my family was an intricately woven facade. I am known as Lisa Rains. I am 32 years old. I am employed as an accountant at a mid-sized firm located in Columbus, Ohio. Thrilling, isn't it? As others drift into dreams, while others fantasize about exotic vacations and romantic adventures, my dreams revolve around the serenity of perfectly balanced spreadsheets. My therapist suggests numbers provide me with a sense of control. It seems my therapist may have a point. The morning began like any other. Serene Saturday morning, sipping coffee in a tranquil apartment. I found myself truly immersed in the peace when my phone rang. Brooke, my older sister, 6 years apart, yet at times it seemed similar to 60. Her voice dripped with sweetness, a subtle hint that should have raised my suspicions from the start. Brooke reserved that voice for moments when she yearned for something. "Lisa, I have a huge favor to request." It appears that she and Jared arranged a cruise to celebrate their anniversary. 5 days in the Caribbean, utterly romantic, truly enchanting. At the 11th hour, they required someone to look after Nola. "Certainly," I replied, for that's what I've always told Brooke. I genuinely want to be with her, and I truly mean that. I truly cherished my niece. Even while using an iPad for communication could be tiring at times, there was an undeniable charm about Nola. She possessed those large, observant eyes that appeared to take in every detail. As I read to her, she would rest against my shoulder, and I could sense her easing into comfort, as if my voice offered her a sanctuary. Nola came into the world afflicted by an uncommon ailment. At the very least, that was what Brooke consistently shared with everyone. A neurological issue that had an impact on her capacity for expression. The doctors detected it when she was around 3 years old. Brooke stated that there was nothing that could be accomplished. I have never challenged it. What would be the reason for me to do that? She was my sibling. Mothers possess an innate understanding of their children. Moreover, I wasn't present often during Nola's formative years. I accepted a position in Chicago shortly after her arrival into the world. Excellent possibility. I couldn't let it slip away. I would return home for Christmas, perhaps a weekend now and then. When Nola by the time it reached 3, she had fallen completely silent. Brooke had meticulously woven the entire tale. I returned to Ohio 2 years ago when our mother fell ill. The insidious, relentless nature of cancer. I yearned for a deeper connection, had a desire to assist. In those months, I found myself dedicating more time to Nola, sharing stories with her, bringing her new books, simply embracing the moment. Without uttering a single word, we created something tangible. Our father Harold passed away 3 years prior to our mother due to heart issues. Illness. He was the calm, reliable sort, the type of man who repaired things without a word of discontent. Once he had departed, it seemed as though the family had lost its foundation. When my mother finally departed 14 months ago, she bequeathed a trust amounting to approximately $1.2 million, representing their complete life savings. Everything related to Dad's life insurance. The conditions were unmistakable. Brooke and I were required to sign off on any significant withdrawals. Mother had a cleverness about them. She bequeathed me the family home, as Brooke had already possessed property at that time. I believed it to be just. Now, I find myself pondering whether my mother possessed insights that eluded me. So let's return to that Saturday morning I made my way to. It was around noon at Brooke's house, a lovely location with a spacious lawn, a house that captures the eye, reminiscent of a magazine cover. Brooke welcomed me at the door with an unexpected embrace. My sister wasn't exactly a embracer. "Lisa, you truly are a beacon of hope." Indeed, she appeared flawless as ever. Hairstyled, manicured nails, exquisite designer luggage poised by the entrance. Jared was placing bags into the taxi that had just pulled up. They hardly glanced in my direction. A brief gesture, a soft greeting. He appeared anxious, perspiring, yet Jared had always been somewhat nervous. I hardly gave it a second thought. Brooke guided me through the house as if I were a stranger to its every corner. "Here is the culinary space. Nola's room awaits your discovery. The remote for the TV is here." She opened the refrigerator and retrieved a large A thermos featuring a vibrant yellow lid. "I created this for you," she said, placing it gently into my hands. "Tea made from herbs to alleviate stress. Your appearance is striking." "Weary, Lisa. It seems you've been putting in a tremendous amount of effort." There was an unsettling quality in her tone, an insistence that seemed out of place. Yet I found myself smiling. I expressed my gratitude to her, just as I had done with Brooke. I offered a smile and expressed my gratitude, choosing not to resist. She possessed, I have consistently found myself as the one offering solutions, even when they weren't solicited. At the age of 25, I experienced a difficult breakup. Brooke's prescription included lavender oil, green juice, and a vision board adorned within the frames of George Clooney's films. "Envision the partner you desire," she had advised. I continue. "I find it difficult to fully embrace vision boards." The cab emitted a sharp honk. Brooke embraced me once more. 2 hugs in a single day, certainly unusual. And then it was time to dash out the door. Jared trailed behind in silence. I observed them as they entered the car, saw it drive off into the distance. After closing the front door, I turned around and found Nola standing there, her gaze fixed on me as if she were on the brink of revealing that the world was coming to an end. "Auntie, please refrain from drinking." The tea that Mother prepared, she devised a sinister plan. Breath eluded me, thoughts slipped away. The thermos rested in my hands, suddenly transformed into something explosive. My dear niece, whom I thought was born mute, had just addressed me in a perfectly clear voice. She cautioned me that my own sister was plotting to poison me. Before we proceed, if this is bringing you pleasure, if you enjoyed the story, kindly hit that subscribe button and share in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is in your location. Your support means everything to me, and I've taken the time to read each and every comment. Let us return to the unfolding events that followed. I established the thermos was placed on the counter as if it were a hazardous object. My hands trembled uncontrollably, on the verge of letting it slip from my grasp. At that moment, I knelt before Nola, lowering myself to meet her gaze. "Nola," I murmured, "are you able to converse?" She gave a slight nod. Her eyes were wide, filled with fear. Yet within them, there was an undeniable fierceness, something resolute. I consistently, "Could, Auntie." Mother insisted that I cease. The chamber swayed. I found myself needing to place a hand on the floor for support. "Could you clarify what you mean? What caused you to pause?" It was at that moment my 8-year-old niece shared a tale that shattered all my preconceived notions. Concerning my family, Nola came into the world with her voice intact. She did not possess any neurological condition. That was untrue. A falsehood my sister had been spinning for 5 years, right up until she turned 3. Nola spoke just like any typical toddler. She uttered her initial words, discovered fresh ones daily, belted out tunes, and inquired endlessly. Inquiries arose as I whispered my affection at the close of day. Then, on a seemingly ordinary afternoon, everything transformed. Nola was engaged in play in her room upstairs. Feeling parched, she quietly made her way downstairs to fetch some juice. Mother was in the conversing on the phone in the kitchen. The little girl stood unnoticed in the doorway. Nola listened intently to the words that filled the air. The majority of them she was puzzled, yet there were a few that seemed familiar to her. Aunt Lisa, funds from the image. When father departs, then mother, and subsequently, we receive it all. She has unwavering trust in me. She lacks common sense. Nola had just turned 3. She was unsure of what being out of the picture entailed, yet she grasped Aunt Lisa's essence, and she comprehended the harsh, frigid tone in which her mother uttered the words stupid. The following day, pure and perplexed, Nola turned to her mother and inquired, "Mommy, what does out of the picture mean?" Brooke's expression hardened. She seized. Nola's grip was firm, leaving faint bruises, as she knelt down to meet their gaze directly. "Pay close attention to what I have to say." "Carefully," she remarked. "Should you ever utter another word to anyone regarding any matter, something dreadful awaits Aunt Lisa. Your words carry a perilous weight. Each utterance inflicts pain upon her. If you truly care for your auntie, you'll never make another sound. Do you understand?" Nola loved me. I was the aunt who introduced her to the world of picture books, the one who smiled at her as if she were the most extraordinary treasure in existence. Nola fell silent. She had just turned 3 age. She chose to sacrifice her voice for my protection. I found myself seated there, on the kitchen floor of Brooke's home. Tears flowed down my cheeks as this child shared the profound sacrifice she had made. 5 years. 5 years of quietude. 5 years of dread, believing that each word she words could wound the one she cherished above all. And Brooke, my sister, the unwavering mother, had harnessed that fear. She accompanied Nola to the doctors, assumed the role of a worried parent, and gathered her selective mutism. She shared a diagnosis, yet conveyed a different story to everyone. It was neurological, something she was born with, and ultimately there was nothing to be done. She created certainly. No one witnessed the authentic medical records. I visited Chicago twice a year. I found no cause to question my own regarding her own daughter. The crystal plaque resting on the mantel drew my attention. Mom of the Year. Brooke emerged victorious from the community center 2 years prior. Her patience and unwavering dedication to her special needs child garnered admiration from all. In a moment of impulse, I felt an overwhelming urge to hurl that plaque into the sun and witness it incinerate. "What more can you share, darling?" I inquired softly. "What other sights have captured your attention?" Nola discovered that her silence rendered her invisible. The adults overlooked her presence entirely. They conversed openly in her presence, presuming she lacked the ability to comprehend, or would remain silent even if she did. Nola observed all things. She observed her mother repeatedly practicing my signature on scrap paper until it appeared nearly indeed. She overheard discussions regarding the trust and the transfer of all assets, and before Lisa realizes it, she observed her father growing increasingly fearful of her mother, acquiescing to every demand, never daring to question anything. She watched her mother entertain neighbors, church friends, and teachers, embodying the flawless facade of a caring, a mother dedicating herself to ensure a better life for her daughter with disabilities. 2 nights ago, Nola heard something that stirred her curiosity. Understand that she could no longer remain quiet. She had stealthily ascended to the top of the stairs, as she had done countless times before. Instances prior, her parents were in the kitchen, deep in thought and discussion. Brooke remarked that the tea would make her sick enough to require a trip to the ER. Absolutely not serious. Merely intense stomach issues, profound fatigue. She will be absent for several days. "What will happen to Nola in our absence?" Jared inquired. "Mrs. Patterson from next door will be the one to take her. I have already informed her that Lisa experiences episodes occasionally. She purchased it entirely. As Lisa remains in the hospital, we make our way to Indianapolis. There exists a lawyer who lacks knowledge her. All the forged documents are prepared and ready to go. The complete trust is transferred to my name. When Lisa finally regains her strength, It will all be over. She will never manage to substantiate anything. No cruise, no Caribbean getaway. Merely a plot to poison me and falsify my signature. And take more than $1 million. My very own sister. I wrapped my arms around Nola and embraced her closely. This courageous, remarkable child. She bore this burden for 5 decades. She observed her mother deceiving everyone. And in the moments that held significance, she discovered the strength to shatter her stillness. "You rescued me," I murmured into her hair. "You understand that, don't you? You were my salvation." She embraced me in return. Small arms gripped fiercely around my neck. "I couldn't allow Mommy to hurt you, Annie, not any longer." I glanced over at the thermos. Perched upon the counter, it appears innocent. A yellow lid atop a jar of homemade tea, crafted by my loving sister. A testament to my emotions, my tears. Halted. A chill and clarity took root in my chest. Brooke believed she had 5 days to take it all. I imagined myself confined to a hospital bed, too unwell to intervene. She was incredibly incorrect. The initial call I placed was to Gwen Mercer. Gwen and I crossed paths during our college years. She pursued a career in nursing. I chose accounting, taking different routes, yet we remained close. She was the type of friend. She was the one who arrived with ice cream during heartbreaks, offering honesty even when it stung. I placed my trust in her wholeheartedly. She picked up on the second ring. "Lisa, what's going on?" "Gwen, I need you to come to—" "I'm at Brooke's house right now. Something has happened, and I can't explain it over the phone. Please, just come. Something is wrong." My tone must have frightened her. She didn't inquire further. I was on my way. 40 minutes later, she stood at the door, still in scrubs from her shift, hair hastily gathered in a messy ponytail. She glanced at my face and immediately pulled me into a warm embrace. "Share your thoughts with me." So I did. Everything. The tea, the plan, and Nola, dear, quiet Nola, who had finally found her voice after 5 long years to caution me. When I once finished, Gwen fell into a contemplative silence. After a stretch of time, she turned her gaze toward Nola, who was perched on the couch, observing us. "Scene," Gwen said, her voice soft yet filled with admiration. She knelt down in front of her, captivated by those big, serious eyes. "Met," she said softly. "You know that?" Nola nearly smiled. Gwen rose to her feet. All commerce at this moment. "All right, let's get started. The tea requires testing. I have an acquaintance at the hospital lab. She possesses the ability to run. A swift analysis is on the agenda for tonight. If there's anything amiss, we'll find out by morning." She donned latex gloves. She indeed had some in her purse, as one would expect, and meticulously took a sample from the thermos, sealing it with care. It was in a small container. "What sort of individual would poison tea?" she whispered. She shook her head. "I always knew Brooke was different. Recall the moment she shared that with you. Did the haircut help to soften the roundness of your face?" That was not intended as a compliment. That was a masterclass in psychological warfare, delivered with sisterly finesse. I nearly chuckled. Nearly. Then Gwen pressed on. "What else do you have?" "There must be more proof if she's been orchestrating this con." I turned to Nola. "Sweetheart, you mentioned you know where Mommy keeps important papers." She nodded and got off the couch. "In the office, there's a locked drawer. I know, the code." "What makes you aware of the code?" I observed her as she typed. Many times she remained oblivious to my presence. A brief, melancholic pause. Nobody ever pays attention to the quiet kid. She guided us to Brooke's home office, a tidy, meticulously adorned space that seemed to have stepped straight out of a publication. A spacious desk held a computer and an array of files, cabinets, along with a single drawer featuring a digital lock. 0315, Nola mentioned. "March 15th. There." It was our wedding anniversary. Naturally, Brooke opted for something sentimental, which made her feel quite clever. I entered the code. The drawer creaked open. What lay within sent a wave of nausea through me. First, bank authorization forms bearing a signature that resembled mine. Yet, it wasn't quite right. It was similar, very similar. However, I could discern the differences. The distinction was apparent right away. The loop on my capital L was incorrect. Anyone familiar with my handwriting would catch it. Brooke had. She had practiced diligently, yet perfection eluded her. Additionally, there were the bank statements from the trust account, detailing 14 months of activity. Repeated withdrawals, consistently in sums below $15,000, just beneath the level that would activate automatic notification to federal authorities. Brooke had completed her. In my pursuit of knowledge, I find myself grappling with a staggering loss. Approximately $180,000, taken from me by none other than my own sister. Had complete trust in her. Additionally, there were printed emails exchanged between Brooke and an attorney from Indianapolis, Warren Ducker. We talked about the urgent transfer of trust assets and mentioned my mental instability and challenges in management. Finances. The meeting was set for day 4, precisely when the cruise was meant to be in full swing. Fourth, and this one almost shattered me, a file titled Lisa Mental, focused on mental health concerns. Within were sheets filled with Brooke's handwriting, chronicling dated entries that detailed my unpredictable actions, the weight of despair, my episodes of paranoia, utter fabrications, all of it. She was creating a record, getting ready to depict me as mentally unstable should I ever contest the deception. My own sister! I was preparing for them to label me as insane, to undermine my reputation, to seize everything from me and abandon me with nothing, not even my reputation. Gwen captured every single document, every page, every date. "This is premeditated fraud," she stated with a somber tone. "This isn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. She has been orchestrating this for more than a year."